let's break the mold. Chasing the stories yet untold. Passion ignites like a blazing fire. Knowledge takes us higher, higher. Out of the box where the wild ones play. We see the game in a whole new way. Living loud, hearts in motion. Sports with soul, pure devotion. The field's alive with endless dreams. We're more than stats, we're the in-between. A slam dunk thought.
What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to the Silver and Black Lair. I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry. I hope everybody's doing well out there on a Tuesday Blues Day. Before we get this shindig kicked off, I'm going to go ahead and let you know that today's show is brought to you by our friend, your friend, everybody's good friend, Jason Fine, attorney, Big Al. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. His office in New Jersey is located in Cherry Hill on 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. His office in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is located at 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And he also has an office in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. The phone number there is 267-888-2980, or just 1-800-HURT-123. Everybody can remember that, right? 1-800-HURT-123. That's Jason Fine, attorney, Big Al. And be sure to let Big Al know that you are a part of the Out of the Box Sports family, and he'll give it a great deal. So there we go. We got our first comment of the day here. And says, "Hey, mate. Hello. I really love your stream and enjoy being part of your fan community. We are a community here. Would you mind adding me up on Discord?" And their Discord name is Mario Kart 0234. I do not know what a Discord is. I do not have a Discord, but I do have a community. So thank you for the comment and checking the show out. And Discord away. There you go. I love those comments. It's always from Twitch, but usually the Twitch ones are like, if you have 1 viewers, go here and then you pay money and you get viewers, or that's just nonsense. That one wasn't that, but thanks for checking the show out, and thank you for being a part of my community. We are a family. There we go. All right, so let's kick this off here. If you don't know who I am, I'm Kenny Fry, the Bat Fry, Raider Batman, and this is the Silver and Black Lair. It's been a little while since I've been on again. I'm on again, off again. I used to be on pretty regular, but it gets difficult sometimes just finding the time, especially with working night shift and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. Same old spiel that I do on here all the time. But like I always say, I do want to get on more, and I will try to get on more, and so on and so on. You can check me out at the Bat Fry Pods on YouTube and on X at SB_Lair_OOTBE, or of course, like you are now on YouTube, Out of the Box Sports at OOT Box Sports. I'll share all that stuff again at the end of the show. But we're going to talk a little bit of Raider football. We had some news the other day that the Raiders plan to hire Clinton Kubiak as their next head coach. That's somebody that I really wanted as their next head coach. It was one of my favorites, I guess you could say. He was on my favorites list. I don't know how else you look at it. Just one, because of the pedigree. He's been in coaching for a long time. For a young guy, I think he's 38 years old, somewhere around there. But he's been around coaching his whole life. His dad was a coach, Super Bowl winner, all that good stuff. So it's not like it's something new to him. He's come up through the system. He's been quarterback coach. Uh, what is it? The offensive quality control guy. Says stuff like that. He's worked his way from the bottom. Even though there is that pedigree there, and so he's done it the right way. He's been offensive coordinator in New Orleans and currently with Seattle. And the Raiders cannot officially sign him or announce him as their next head coach until after the Super Bowl. Now with Seattle going to the Super Bowl, playing the Patriots this upcoming Sunday. So I'm really excited to get this underway and start the Clint Kubiak era. I'm not a big fan of the K for Clint. I don't know what it is that bothers me about that, but I'm a little bit bothered by the K and Clint. So it is what it is. I'll have to suck it up and deal with it as a Raider fan, and it's going to bother me though. It's going to bother me. So I'm just going to call him Kubiak a lot because every time I say Clint, I'm going to think of the K. It's gonna bug me, and that's just who I am. Uh, the nonsensical things that bother me. And why not just the C? I don't understand. And it's not like his dad's name is K, like Ken, like me, or a Kevin. His dad's name is Gary, a G. I don't know. Whatever. I think his brother's name it starts with a K too. He's a coach, offensive coordinator in San Francisco. I can't think of what his name is right off the top of my head, but I don't know. Probably Kyle Kubiak or it's probably Corey with a K or something, instead of a C. Oh my God, that drive me nuts too. But anyway, I'm off topic here. Super excited for Clint Kubiak to be our next head coach. As soon as it's a done deal, I'm not holding my breath. It's one of those things. We saw Cliff Kingsbury, you know, be announced. Everybody talking about Kingsbury being our offensive coordinator a couple of years ago under I think it was under McDaniel, or was it under? Well, was it under AP or McDaniels? I think it was under AP, and that fell apart, and he ends up going to Washington. So we seen that. As a Mets fan, we had that Carlos Correa debacle a couple of years ago. I'm not one to count my chickens before they hatch. And so I'll wait as soon as that ink dries on that piece of paper saying that he is the next head coach to really believe that he's the next head coach. But we'll move forward here, assuming that he will be the next head coach of the Raiders. And I'm excited, just because the offensive potential that he could bring to the Raiders that has been lacking the last basically 2 seasons under Josh McDaniels. It wasn't great, but the offense was decent. It was decent. It was okay at best under Josh McDaniels, but you can kind of see the rhyme behind the reason a little bit. There was a lot of head scratching at times when Josh McDaniels was the head coach. But when AP was the head coach, and we had I can't think of the guy's name. The Bears offensive coordinator was our offensive coordinator. It was just it was awful, and I don't want to remember his name. So if you're out there and you're a Raider fan or you're just a fan of football and you want to throw his name at me, I don't want to know his name. I don't want to know his name. But his offense was shit. It was garbage. It was terrible, and none of it made sense. None of it made sense. And then we come into this season here with Pete Carroll as head coach, and the the offense being ran by Chip Kelly, and all the hype. It was just especially for the Chip Kelly part. There was a lot of hype, and that was again no rhyme or reason behind the offense. No, nothing that really made a whole lot of sense to any fan out there. And I get it. Fans. We're fans for a reason. We're not coaches. Some fans understand it a lot more than other fans. Again, I'm not one of those fans that go out there and I understand offenses, and all that stuff. I couldn't break down game film for you or anything like that, but I understand playing football, and there was a lot of not a lot of understanding going on with that offense last season, and it's just so unbalanced, and with the type of offensive line that we had. Some of the play calls just it's really left you like you're like, what in the hell are we doing out there? And just the ineptitude, the ineptity, it was bad. It was very bad last season. It was probably the worst I've seen in a very, very long time. And the Raiders did set a couple uh, records, records that you don't want to have for lack of yards and I think points and stuff like that. I know a couple games. I think it was yards. Lack of yards in the first half or second half, lack of yards in a game and stuff. It was really really bad. I got a couple comments here. Um, Juan Leva T5X, I think it says you real Raider fan. We're all real Raider fans here, brother. We should got Broncos coach Davis Webb. I think you're talking about. Well, I mean, if you want to look at it like that, Kubiak, Clint K for Clint, that kills me. Kubiak, I think he was part of the Broncos organization a couple years ago. So there is that. So I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I also did like Davis Webb. I just feel like Davis Webb was maybe a little wet behind the ears, as the saying goes. Not a whole lot of experience being 31. I would have liked the Raiders to get Davis Webb, and maybe as the offensive coordinator, but he's going to stay put there in Denver and be probably potentially be their offensive coordinator. I know there's a lot of firings recently, and he could potentially find his way into the head coaching role there in a few years. Who knows how long their coach is going to be going for. So I mean, I don't know how old the Broncos coach how old he is. Uh, I again his name, the former Saints coach. I can't think of what his name is right now. I'm really bad. If you're just watching me for the first time, my memory is really really bad. I forget names a lot, so that is what it is. But yeah, so I don't know how old he is. I know he's been around for a long time, but he doesn't look old. This is one of the things I joke about at work is that Pete Carroll started as the Raiders coach last season, and he was like a spry senior citizen, like he was maybe pushing 65, maybe 70. In reality he was 80. I think what 84 or something like that, or whatever he was. I don't know how old he was. But by the end of the season, he looked every part of his age. He looked like he was old. He looked like he was hurting. He looked like he was ready for retirement, for the senior home, for potentially for that long nap, that long dirt nap. I don't know. He looked a little bit rough. He didn't look young and spry anymore. He didn't look like that same coach where we saw last season and during uh, camps and stuff like that, where he's dropping elbows on players and stuff. That wasn't the same Pete Carroll by the end of the season. He went through the rigors last year, this past season. Uh, Juan says we be good with Buffalo coach. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Buffalo coach. I don't know. But I know Buffalo fired him, but I don't know if he grabbed on anywhere yet. Or if he's even coaching this season. I'm not really sure. I don't know what happened with him. We got another comment here from Esther Diaz 8414. It says, "I'm subscribed and like." Thank you, Esther. I appreciate it very much. Hopefully, I said your name right. Esther Diaz, Raiders. There you go. Chewy checking in. So, how do you feel about Kubiak? I like the hire. I'm excited. He brings balance to an offense. And, again, it's easier said than done. When you're the offensive coordinator, when you're the head coach, there's some other uh, uh, things to worry about, or other variables that drop in as a head coach. And when you're offensive coordinator, I think it might be a little bit more. You're more a little bit more with the blinders on as an offensive coordinator, as any kind of coordinator. That's what you're focused on. That's what you're doing. As the head coach, there's a little bit more to worry about, a little bit more to do. So hopefully he stays focused. Offensively, he hires himself a good defensive coordinator to kind of take over the defense, focus on the defense, so he doesn't have to worry about it. And he brings along he brings along a couple defense, a couple decent offensive guys. God bless it. I can't talk. A good offensive coordinator, because Kubiak's going to be calling the plays, so that's going to be what's going to happen there. And so you're looking probably an offensive coordinator coming in that's inexperienced, somebody that's going to come in, it's going to help, uh, setting up the offenses and stuff like that. But if Kubiak's just calling the plays, he's just going to be your eye in the sky. Your offensive coordinator is going to be your eye in the sky, maybe helping point some things out, but you know it's going to come down to Clint Kubiak calling plays. So I would look at their next offensive coordinator probably being a little bit inexperienced, a young somebody just looking to get their feet wet in that role and going from there. That's what I think could be happening. But I am excited for Clint Kubiak. I had some numbers here I thought were pretty interesting with the Seattle offense from last year with the Raiders. You talk about balance. Last year, this past season for the Sea Chickens is 51% run, 49% pass. I mean, that's balance, right? That's balance to a T there. Under center, they ran as a good bit under center as well as shotgun. Under center, they ran the ball 80% of the time. Out of shotgun, they threw the ball 70% of the time, which makes sense, right? So, so yeah, it's it makes sense. You want to run the ball more out from under center. That way, a little bit more deception there. Um, when you're in a shotgun, you know, more often than not, it's a pass, and obviously that's for every offensive um, scheme that runs out of shotgun. You're going to be passing more out of the shotgun, and the run game normally doesn't do as well out of the shotgun. Just because it's a little bit more predictable. And his under center to shotgun split, was pretty even as well. It's I think he spent more time uh, under center this year. I think I read online. I think they spent more time under center this year than in shotgun, but it was pretty close. It was pretty close. So I do like that. It seemed like this past season, whether it's because of our porous offensive line or not, it seemed like the Raiders were in shotgun a lot. So I mean, there's that. Hey, but you got to fix the offensive line. So no matter what, that's I think numero uno when it comes to free agency. Uh, Juan says since Tim Brown Rocket was there, hasn't been the same, dude. That's that. Yeah, that's going back. Tim Brown, Rocket Ismail. Uh, did Rocket Ismail and Jerry Rice play there at the same time? I don't remember if Rocket was there. I feel like Rocket might have moved on before Jerry joined the Raiders there in the late '90s, early 2000s, whenever it was under Gruden. Yes, Chewy Luke Getzey. I don't want to remember that name, but there it is. Juan says Pete Carroll, shake my head. Absolutely. Juan also says Chip Kelly. Yeah, that was so disappointing with Chip Kelly. Me living in Pennsylvania, I got to see Chip Kelly uh, basically every week when he was the head coach of the Eagles. And I don't know why I thought it was going to be any different, but yeah, it wasn't good when he was in Philly. I mean, I guess the offense wasn't terrible when he was in Philly, but the team as a whole was ran shitty under Chip Kelly. And you thought it might have been different maybe because he was a coordinator instead of the head coach, but it wasn't. And you know what? There appeared to be a power struggle between he and Pete. I think that's a large part of it as well. Uh, your offensive coordinator, your head coach, really need to be arm in arm. And to win games, you got to score points, right? And that's one thing the Raiders did not do. They did not score points enough or at all most of the times. So it was a marriage that was doomed at the beginning. And the thing was, you know, Chip Kelly was a Tom Brady hire, supposedly. That stuff I hear online all the time on other podcasts. And Pete Carroll was a Mark Davis hire. So like it should always go. You bring in your coach, and your coach hires the coordinators. And your coordinators hire their sub coaches and stuff like that. That's I think that's how it should work. It goes GM, head coach to the coordinators, coordinators to the assistants and your sub coaches and stuff like that. I don't understand how you have one owner hiring the head coach, another owner hiring the offensive coordinator. It's like it just didn't make any sense. So yeah. Juan says Jack Del Rio was okay. He was okay. They took the Raiders to the playoffs. Had a couple decent seasons there. His final season, not that much. But I was surprised when Del Rio did get fired. But that's when they brought Gruden 2.0 in. I'm a John Gruden guy, so yeah, I know a lot of Raider fans not a big fan of John Gruden for one reason or another. I'm not really sure. I felt like his last tenure, he was starting to turn the Raiders around a little bit. I can say you can see the um, the team starting to gel a little bit before the whole email thing happened, and it was what it was from there. So Choice is bad coaching, absolutely bad coaching, horrific coaching. And, you look at the Brendan Carroll offensive line coach. He starts there, but also whoever's decisions it where was I don't know, whoever made the decision to place the offensive lineman in certain positions. It starts with JPJ at guard instead of center, and like all right, he is a decent guard. Then you have a center starting that never played center before. And so then, JPJ gets hurt, comes back, he's back in the guard position. You replace the center with another center that never played center before, or played center once in his career. And, then JPJ gets hurt again. And then it's like, it was doomed from the offset, and not willing to give the rookies a chance. It took Caleb Rogers till the last quarter of the season to actually get any playing, some real playing time. And he did a decent job. He had some some bad plays. He had a lot of good plays. I feel like he had more good plays than bad plays. So I feel like Caleb Rogers put some really good things on film. Um, so yeah, it was a whole lot of bad last year, a whole lot of bad, and all around, just all around. Bad coaching leads to bad play, and it showed last year. I would not expect Pete Carroll to ever coach again. I feel like that was it for him. And it kind of shows you the reason why Seattle stepped away from Pete Carroll when they did, in my opinion. That they didn't outright fire Pete Carroll. They made him like an advisor, gave him an advisor role. He kind of took the stance of stepping down, which basically is if you don't take this advisor role, you're going to get fired. So that's basically what it was, and you kind of understand why. And I wasn't a big fan of the Pete Carroll hire, but as a Raider fan, I got behind it, and it was a kick in the crotch. Chewy says, hopefully Kubiak will bring some good connections with him. And then that was one thing I don't know. With it being this late in the game, it's going to be tough for him to bring anybody over with significance. And like I said about the offensive coordinator spot, I don't expect a big name. I don't expect anybody with a lot of experience, because you figure Clint Kubiak's going to be calling plays, and any offensive coordinator worth their salt, uh, any kind of experience, they're going to want to come in. They're going to want to call the plays, to prove that they can do the offensive coordinating role, and lead to a potential head coaching role. So you have to figure it's going to be somebody with an experience. But defensive coordinator is a little bit different. That's hopefully he has connections. He's able to bring somebody in decent. But again, this late in the game, it's tough. I'm not 100% sure what the rules are, but if it's a defensive coordinator that's already under contract with another team, they can be blocked from going to another team as a defensive coordinator. But if, let's say, they're the defensive line coach and another team wants them as their defensive coordinator, which is perceived as a uh, oh Jesus Christmas, it's perceived as an upgrade, for them, in their career. Promotion. There's the damn word. Oh my God. Promotion. It's perceived as a promotion that cannot be blocked. So if you're looking for somebody that's already a defensive coordinator that's under contract, there's a chance that they could be blocked, or there could be some sort of behind the scene wheelings and dealings with buyouts, or we don't want to go the trade route like with John Gruden. When he was traded to the Buccaneers, that's not something you don't want to be giving up draft capital for coordinators or anything like that. And I don't even know if you can. I don't know if that's just a head coach thing or not. But I do know with the coordinators, I did hear somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where it was. If it was um, the Raiders report with Mitchell Renz, or if it was um, locked on Raiders with Q Myers. I'm not really sure which show I heard it on, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So you could be looking at somebody that's not an existing defensive coordinator, or a defensive coordinator that's been let go that's still looking for a job, or you're gonna have to do some wheelings and dealings. So Vegas Raiders don't ring. I'm used to it now. I'm used to, if that's what you're talking about. I'm used to Vegas Raiders. I don't like Vegas Raiders. I like Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know. I think Las Vegas Raiders sound better than the Vegas Raiders. I don't know what it is. Juan says silver and black. Yes, sir. Chewy says Davis Webb is ready to be an OC, not a head coach. Yeah, and I agree 100% there. I think I would have liked, if the Raiders would have announced Davis Webb as their next head coach, I would have been kind of skeptically optimistic, kind of like very cautiously optimistic. I don't know if I would have jumped on board, but I would have been like, all right, let's see what we can get out of the young guy. But I would have been happier if it was Clint Kubiak and then Davis Webb is announced as your offensive coordinator. He can kind of get his feet wet under Clint Kubiak, who brings, like, again, he's been around coaching his whole life. His father, you know, coach, for many years, and Super Bowl winner, all that good stuff. But uh, it wasn't to be. Yeah, and so he'll become. It wasn't anything. Nothing was announced, but I don't think it was anyway. He'll probably become the offensive coordinator and learn under the name I could not remember. Chewy says Sean Payton. Juan says Sean Payton. Thank you, gentlemen. Uh, but yeah, he'll learn under Sean Payton. Yeah, I don't remember how much. Again, I don't know how old Sean Payton is. I know he's been around for a long time. But yeah, you figure maybe he has a handful of years left. 5 tops, maybe. Yeah, he could go a lot longer. I mean, look, Andy Reid's been killing it for centuries. So who knows? Uh, Juan says we need a QB1. Don't want the rookie. Uh, I'm good with the rookie. I'm good with the Raiders draft Mendoza. I think that's the way they need to go. But I wouldn't be overly upset if they said, you know what, we're not going to go with the rookie. We're going to trade back. We're going to collect more picks. A couple number ones from whoever wants to do that, and maybe look at another rookie quarterback later in the draft, or even looking free agency. I'm not sure what free agent quarterbacks are going to be out there, but you could find some young free agent quarterbacks that you feel like you know had potential years ago that never lived up to that potential, and become that next Sam Darnold. Then Sam Darnold gets away from the Jets, away from the Panthers, and goes to Minnesota and kind of makes a name for himself a little bit, and he catches on with Seattle, and now he's in the Super Bowl. He's gonna be a Super Bowl quarterback. So you never know. But I think they'll draft Mendoza, and that's I want them to draft Mendoza. I get super nervous about stuff like that, just because you don't know. College and the NFL are so different, and it's like when you had Peyton Manning come into the NFL, there was no doubt. There was no doubt that he was going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's just there was no doubt. But you don't get that with Mendoza. You don't get that with any quarterback, in the draft. You don't get in like this year's draft, last year's draft, any of the recent drafts. So there's no guarantee. With somebody like Peyton Manning, it felt like a guarantee that he was going to be who he said he was. So it makes me a little bit nervous, but I think that's the way they need to go. I think that's the route they need to go. They need to get Mendoza, draft Mendoza, develop Mendoza. Whether that means sitting him for a season or a half a season, then so be it. I mean, Tom Brady's been on record saying he's not a huge fan of rookie quarterbacks starting right away. So that could be one of those deals where we see somebody like Aiden O'Connell for the first half of the season, maybe for the first season. Who knows? I think he has one more year left with the Raiders. I believe that's what it is. Uh, you know, give him a chance to put something on film and see if he wants to test free agency the following year and see if he can catch on somewhere, or maybe he puts something on film and the Raiders like, hey, we got something here, and maybe look at like different routes, for Mendoza. Who knows? You just never know. But I know me personally, I'd like to see Aiden O'Connell get a little bit more rub. Uh, every time it seems like he gets a chance, either something stupid happens, he gets hurt or whatnot. But I think for the most part, he plays decent. It's there's the dark cloud over his head that we all know about, that he's not overly mobile. I do think he moves better in the pocket than most people give him credit for, but he's not going to take off and run. And he has good arm. He's accurate, but he's a little bit injury prone now. So that's the dark clouds over Aiden O'Connell's head, and it's going to be tough for him to shake, especially trying to fight for playing time. Uh, Go get Russell. I don't. We do not want Russell. If you're talking about Russell, uh, Russell, what the hell's his name? Russell Wilson. I don't. I'm not a big fan of that. Lamar Jackson. I'm not a big fan of that either. Lamar Jackson has a good bit of miles on him, and he's probably. I'm sure he's still MVP caliber. What was he, the MVP 2 seasons ago or whatever? I think he was a finalist last season, maybe. I'm not sure. But I'm sure he's still that caliber. But if you're going to go get Lamar Jackson, you're going to look for long term, and that's not where he's at in his career anymore. I don't think, in my opinion, anyway. If it was a 1 year thing, bring Lamar Jackson in 1 year, 2 years, tops, fine. But if you're looking to extend him, it's going to cost the Raiders a lot of money, and I wouldn't trust him. He's got a lot of burn on those tires. Eileen checking in. What's up, Eileen? She says, hello, Eileen. Good to hear from you, Eileen. I'm on. It's rare making a rare appearance here, but I feel like I need to get on more often. I enjoy doing this, Eileen. I do, but it's hard. It's rough. I am tired right now. I'm very tired. And I even thought, like, man, I put it out there and I'm tired. I don't want to go on, but I got to go on. Got to see the nation. Got to talk to the nation and see what's going on. Feel the nation. Feel the pulse of the nation. I want to hear their thoughts. I want to read their thoughts on Clint Kubiak here. So, why did Clint Kubiak select Vegas? And my thought is a couple different reasons. The number one overall pick, so he has a chance to select that quarterback, that's that perceived franchise quarterback, and grow with him, and connected at the hip kind of thing. So there's that. I feel like that's a big part of it. Or like, again, it's a nice spot to be in, the number one overall draft pick, and a few teams looking, needing a quarterback and having Mendoza there, you can trade back and get a decent haul in draft capital. Multiple number ones and whatnot. So there's always that. That's very appealing as well. And this is a let's be truthful here. This is a rebuild. So it's going to be a couple seasons before we see the Raiders contending, more than likely. They have enough money where they can contend next year if they do free agency right and do the draft right. They have enough money to do that, to flip it really quick. But usually when that happens with a team, you're back in the same spot you were in 2 years down the road. You make the playoffs one season, you're a winning record the next season, but just missed the playoffs, and all of a sudden you're back to 4-13. Don't want to do that. If they're gonna do it right, let's do it right. Let's find that franchise quarterback. Let's do that slow build, certain spots on the team, and go from there. Like, and I'm not talking about trading Max away. I know Max Crosby does not want to be part of a slow build. He wants to win now. I seen something where, and again, I don't know if this was a real uh, quote or a real article or not. It could be AI. I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. But it said that Max Crosby informed Raiders that he wants to play for a contender next season, and then there was a list of teams that could be interested. I know, you know what? I know where I saw it on. I was scrolling my TikTok news feed, And the Edge of Philly Sports guys, the Edge of Philly Sports, they had it posted on their little page there, and a bunch of Eagles fans were calling on Howie to make the move. But again, I don't know if that's real. Everything I heard from Max Crosby is that he's a Raider. He wants to be a Raider. He wants to stay, with the Raider. He wants to win as well, but he bleeds silver and black. But we'll see. Time will tell. But if you're gonna deal Max Crosby, I feel like this might be it. This year before the season or during the season might be your last chance to do it and get a decent haul for him. After that, you're looking at, I guess he'd be 30, 31, somewhere around that age. A couple injuries under his belt. It's kind of, you start losing capital then. So there's the number one overall pick. Why Kubiak should be why Kubiak picked the Raiders potentially. Again, it's not signed and sealed, delivered yet, but it's reported that they're under agreement or they're working out details or whatever it is. Uh, so yeah, the number one overall pick. Uh, Also a couple star players already in place on offense. Ashton Genty, I do believe Ashton Genty can be and will be a star player in the league. I really do believe that. We saw glimpses of it. That offensive line was so bad last season. The play calling was so bad last season. He had no chance. Majority of the time, he had no chance to even get a yard. So it's if anybody that's just casually watching this, not a Raiders fan, if you watched any Raiders games, there's a couple that were televised. The dude did not have a chance. Did not have a chance. It's like a snowball's chance in hell. It was a shame, because you would see he would break some tackles and get 5 yards, and it'd be exciting. And we saw that burst a couple times where he'd break off a big run, but for most part, no, he didn't have a chance. So they have a couple superstar players in place. Ashton Genty, you're looking at Brock Bowers on offense. He's a superstar, bona fide stud right there. Uh, and you're looking at defense, Max Crosby, of course. He's a star. He's still a stud. So there's a couple stars in place. There's a couple things to build off of. That's appealing. Young guys. Bowers and Genty. You get your franchise quarterback. Those three guys can grow together for the next 10 years. Potentially you could. I'm not saying this is what it's going to be, but you could potentially have your Aikman, Emmett, and Irving. Obviously, Brock Bowers is not a wide receiver; he's a tight end. But look at those stats and tell me he's not a wide receiver. For real, watch him run routes and tell me he's not a wide receiver. Watch him catch the ball and tell me he's not a wide receiver. So he's a wide receiver in a tight end body. Uh, so yeah, I got a comment here before I get back to my little list. At Hit Stick Stepper. There we go. Hit Stick Stepper. I like that. It says, low key, we should trade Max. Now, while he has value and demand, we can easily get 2 first-round picks for Bro to start a true rebuild, run that. And that's what, yeah, I just basically said that I feel like this could be their last chance to actually get a bona fide haul for Max. And again, I'm not saying that's what I want them to do, but this is it. This is that I feel like their last chance, because you look at next season. If they go this season with him and they go into next season, you're looking, he's a year older. More wear and tear on that body. The last couple seasons he's missed games now because of injury. So now all that stuff starts building up. So now go like Hit Stick Stepper says, you can easily get a couple first round picks now for him. I believe that as well. I believe you can find a team, that feels like, defensively they're an edge rusher away from being a top type defense, and maybe you get a late first round pick, for the next 2 years. I wouldn't think that'd be an early first round pick, because normally those teams in the top 10 of the first round are teams that have multiple areas of need and wouldn't be willing to spend those first round picks on an edge rusher. But you look at the later, mid to later first round type teams, teams that are pushing playoffs or in the playoffs. that are maybe a player away in certain spots, absolutely those teams could absolutely throw 2 first round picks at you for Max Crosby. But if you wait till next year, you could be looking at like maybe a second and a fifth or something. You know what I mean? It's that 1 year makes a huge difference, and we're getting to that point now with Max Crosby, where the last couple seasons it's like, oh, the Raiders should trade Max. The Raiders shouldn't trade Max. Does Max want to be traded? This is it. I feel like this is where the last chance you can get the most bang for your buck for Max Crosby. After that, it's going to start significantly declining. The offers will start getting lower and lower and lower, and that is what it is. Uh, Me personally, I'd like to see Max stay, but uh, I'm a Raider fan first. I cheer for the team on the side of the helmet, the logo, not the name on the back. So I mean, those players move on. They move on. It is what it is. But it's always silver and black. Uh, yeah, good point there. Hit stick stepper. That's hard to say for me. Hit stick stepper. Uh, so why else does Clint Kubiak view the Raiders as a good fit for himself? Why does he view this as a good job? A job for him to take right now. Uh, Cap space. Before the cap numbers were released for this upcoming season, the Raiders did have $88.7 million in cap space, which was second most in the league. I thought I heard with the new cap figures coming out, I feel like it was over 100 million, like 101 million. I think now, second in the league. They got a lot of money to spend. They have a lot of money to spend, and that's very enticing for a coach that has to rebuild a team and may want to start off with veterans. Like I say, it's hard. You have to have a healthy mix of guys that will be able to carry you through a rebuild for 2-3 seasons while you get younger guys ready. So you have to figure through free agency. There's going to be a healthy mix of bringing in some offensive linemen or some wide receivers that might be on 2-year deals, 1 or 2 year deals, just to get the Raiders through the early parts of a rebuild until they get those younger guys up to speed and to where they're comfortable, or these guys are starters now or are major contributors or whatever, what have you. So and that's my thought on it. That's what I think we could be seeing, but there's a lot of money to spend. And who knows? There could be some. I have to go through the free agency list through the league and stuff like that. There could be some young studs out there that are coming to the end of their rookie contracts that are looking for new contracts that the Raiders can go out there and swoop and pick up easily. They have the money to do it. Vegas is an attractive area for some players. The Raiders organization, maybe not so much. Right now with the winning part of it, but it's again, it's a historic type franchise where a lot of history behind it, a lot of swagger about it, even though it's been shit for the last 20 plus years. And there's still that stigma about the Raiders. It's still the Raiders, but it has definitely lost its luster over the last couple decades. But again, you have the Vegas part of it. You have the newish stadium. The stadium's only a couple years old. Uh, so yeah, so it's very attractive for it will be attractive for some free agents, and I feel like a lot of it has to do also with what the Raiders do in this draft. The Raiders go out there and they get Mendoza. They draft very well. That could show some future free agents. Like what, I could see the turnaround starting to happen in Vegas. I want to be a part of that, and then you'll get some major free agents coming in. That could be uh, the long burn there with that. Because I feel like that with the salary cap, I feel like they have to spend a certain percentage of that salary cap. They just can't sit on it. Like, oh, next season these guys are going to be free agents. Let's sit on it until they have to. They have to spend a certain percentage of that salary cap, and I'm not sure what that percentage is, or they get penalized, I believe, or something like that. My boy, your boy, everybody's boy, Paul Spencer, check it in. What's up, Paul? the main man. He says, "Wait, who is this guy talking Raiders? What's up, Bat Fry? Pickens is going to be a Raider. No, Pickens is not going to be a Raider. Oh, I thought you were talking about Kenny Pickett. Never mind. You're talking about George Pickens. I don't know. I don't know about George Pickens. I did hear some Raider fans talking on other podcasts about wanting Pickens, but I also heard some other uh, media type people saying he wouldn't be a fit. So I guess I'm not sure. George Pickens, he's up there in age, right? I could be wrong, but but yeah, I don't know where he fits in. I do. The Raiders do need receivers and receiving help. Tyler Lockett will be gone. He's a free agent. I'll go over the Raiders free agent list here in a couple minutes. And next show I do, I'll talk about NFL free agents as the league year will be coming up here real soon after the Super Bowl. I'm not sure the exact date of the league year opening up where you can, teams can start signing free agents or the Tampa. Uh, but that's not too long after the Super Bowl. I don't think it's the next day or anything like that. I feel like it's like a week or so after it. I could be wrong though. I usually am wrong. So all right. So moving on from why Kubiak supposedly chose, potentially chose, not until that's actually on paper. So moving on from that, uh, potential offensive coordinator targets. I wrote down a couple I thought made sense for the Raiders. Potential offensive coordinator candidates. Uh, Jake Peets from the Sea Chickens. Pass game coordinator. So you're looking at somebody that's inexperienced, which like I mentioned earlier, you're probably like offensive coordinator. Kubiak's going to be calling the plays. You know that already going in. So it's probably going to be somebody that's inexperienced at offensive coordinator. That only makes sense to me. I couldn't imagine a seasoned offensive coordinator coming into a job and not being able to call his own plays. That's not usually how it works. So I would look at somebody like this, like a Jake Peets, potentially offensive pass game coordinator for the Sea Chickens. The next logical step for that guy would be offensive coordinator, I believe. So, um, Andrew, I don't know how to say his last name. Andrew Janako, I think that's how you say it. That makes sense. Quarterback coach in Seattle. Another guy, inexperienced, could learn, the offensive coordinator role under Kubiak and go from there. But it's somebody that's inexperienced, and you're not really looking for him to call the plays. You're kind of looking at him to assist Kubiak in calling plays. Maybe looking, finding some tendencies during games or what have you, help setting the offenses up. Uh, so a couple guys with experience. You've been hearing a lot of Cliff Kingsbury. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, Cliff Kingsbury is known kind of as an offensive whiz, and he's going to want to call his own plays, and it's not going to happen. So, Brian Callahan, former Titans head coach, former Bengals offensive coordinator. Again, I wouldn't bet on it. The reason Brian Callahan intrigues me a little bit is that he's kind of been there, done that with the head coaching part. So you could see him come in, kind of um, mentor a little bit. I know he wasn't the Titans head coach for very long, and it wasn't very successful. But still, he's been through it. So maybe kind of, hey, watch for this. Hey, watch for that. Pay attention to this. Pay attention to that kind of thing. So there could be that. And Brian Callahan is almost taking the same route as Kubiak. Uh, I do believe Brian Callahan is Bill Callahan's son. I could be wrong. I could be way off on that. I don't know. But Bill Callahan, former Raiders coach, coached the Raiders in the Super Bowl after Gruden was traded away. We all know how that ended for us and where we've been since then. I'm not saying it's Bill Callahan's fault. We are where we're at today, but that's where it started. All right. So again, not saying it, just saying it. Uh, so there's that. But he does have the same. Uh, if it is Bill Callahan, and like I said, I believe it is the same path as Clint Kubiak. So it could be a little bit of a mentorship. And if Brian Callahan did come to the Raiders as the offensive coordinator, I feel like it'd only be one season. Whereas if you're looking at Andrew Janako or Jake Peets, I'd be looking at them as offensive coordinators for multiple seasons, as long as everything's going well and you know, Kubiak isn't getting pressured by management to have to fire somebody because things are that bad that he has to. But yeah, the younger guys with inexperience, I'd expect to be there a couple of years. But somebody, if it was somebody like Kingsbury or Callahan, it'd be a 1 year job, and that'd be they'd move on somewhere else, either looking for head coaching jobs or what have you. I got a couple more comments here. Paul says the lights of Vegas would hurt Pickens. He is 20. Oh, he's so for some reason I feel like George Pickens he sounds like an old guy. George, the name George just sounds old. That could be it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about Pickens. You say that the lights of Vegas would hurt Pickens. I feel like I heard that somewhere too, but I don't know if I'm just because you have it on there. If I'm just thinking I heard it somewhere, but I feel like I heard that somewhere. And yeah, you don't need that. You definitely don't need that if you're gonna go to Vegas. You don't need somebody there that's gonna be distracted easily by bright lights, like a cat or whatever. My aunt Kim, what's up, Kim? She's checking in. She says my hopes keep Max. Let him be a part of what I'm praying is a promising rebuild the next few years. I think he only has a few years left on those knees anyway. We have to get you to that stadium, Ken. I have to get to that stadium, Kim. I agree. I have to get out there to Allegiant, and I'll have time. It's a brand new stadium, so it's not going anywhere. But um, I have to get out there. I have to get out there. I see videos. I watch tours on it and stuff like that. It looks fantastic. Looks awesome, but it's going to be a pricey trip when I do go. Paul checking in again. He says Kubiak is zone reblocking system on offensive line, like his dad, who built the Ponies running back dynasty back in the day. Is your offensive line that caliber? Our offensive line is no caliber. We don't have a caliber in the offensive line. Caliber is poor caliber, if that's even a thing. It's not a good offensive line, but I feel like there are um, a couple guys on the offensive line that can be starters, that are starters. Obviously, um, JPJ, uh, he come back healthy and stuff like that. Uh, so obviously, he's a starter. Uh, uh, Jesus, I'm drawing a blank again. Rookie from last year, uh, God, Caleb. Jesus, Caleb Rogers, or am I thinking of the other guy? Caleb, I think it's Caleb Rogers. I'm pretty sure. But he had a nice showing at guard there last quarter of the season. So I feel like he could be a starter, absolutely, right away. And Miller out there at tackle. Come back healthy. I don't see any reason why you know he should have a step back. I feel like he was healthy by the end of the season, but he didn't really. Um, he didn't really play. He didn't play at all at the end of the season. I feel like he was healthy. I feel like it's just one of those deals. Like, you know what, next season, bring him up, bring him back next season, bring him back healthy, and let him start over and see if he can get back to his All Pro, Pro Bowl status. The Pro Bowl is what it is. I know a lot of people poo poo on a Pro Bowl, but it's still a benchmark for a lot of these players to reach, and yeah, so. But our offensive line. So I do feel like we have three spots that can be possibly spoken for potentially, but I feel like we still need another guard. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure if Dylan Parham will be back or not. I know he's a free agent. Uh, I feel like you move on from him and just it is what it is, and get yourself a new guard either through free agency or draft, or maybe there's somebody on roster right now. You could look at uh, Charles Grant, the rookie from last year. I feel like he's more suited for offensive tackle. But yeah, there could be somebody else on the roster right now that could take over that guard position. And just like JPJ, he's a center, but he looks better at a guard as a guard. So that's what the coaches, that's what scouts and coaches say. I know when he played center 2 seasons ago for the Raiders, I feel like he looked much better at center than guard. He looked more comfortable, but again, center was his natural position. That's where he played most of his career at his college career, and so it was kind of one of those deals like, well, yeah, he's going to look better at center because that's where he played mostly. Give him time at guard, but most scouts and analysts and whoever the experts say that JPJ is better suited at uh, at guard than center. So uh, that is what it is. So, but there is a lot of work, and I feel like the one of the bigger issues for the Raiders' offensive line last season, because there were so many injuries, was depth. We had no depth at offensive line, and I think that's something that needs to be looked at this year. And I'm not talking depth like like Stone Forsythe or guys like that, where you bring these guys in that 1 year deals that are actually third string tackles that are guards or whatever that are just awful. I'm not talking about those. I mean, guys that are fringe starters that you could roll these guys in and you don't lose anything. Fringe starters, you're gonna have to pay those guys. You're gonna have to pay them. But the depth was so bad last year on the offensive line, and it's something we can't go through again. So they really need to seriously look at the depth of the offensive line and throw some money at those backups or rotating type pieces or whatever. That I feel like they have to be fringe type starter guys and uh, and go from there. Because you're going to have injuries on the offensive line. It's inevitable. It really is. It's inevitable that there's going to be injuries on the offensive lines. Guys, tackles, they'll always, tearing biceps or pectorals or getting ankles rolled up on. Happens all the time. It's the nature of the beast. You're in the trenches, and that's where all the banging around and the mauling happens, and they're going to get hurt. So you really need to have good depth, and it's just something that's been seriously lacking. Paul says there is an Asian guy I know looking for an OC job. Well, I seen some of those plays you wrote up, and they were professional like. So I'll tell you what, there, Paul. That's you got my vote. I didn't know what the hell I was looking at. I'm like, this is no like Madden type plays I used to see. A little X this way, Y that way, Z this way, and square, circle, triangle. That's it. No, that's not what I was seeing. There's holy shit. It says they have money to build that wall. Yeah, absolutely. 100. I think it's $101 million in cap space now, second most in the league. They have more than enough money to go out there and really retool that offensive line and go from there. Uh, MC checking in. Thank you very much for checking in. I appreciate it very much. This is Grant Rogers. Yeah, for some reason I was like, I'm like, what the hell is it? And I was thinking Caleb Rogers, but I'm like, no, that doesn't sound right. But no, it is right. It's Charles Grant and Caleb Rogers. And so yeah, Caleb Rogers is the one that was the guard that played a good bit more than Charles Grant was the lad from the tackle from William and Mary, big dude. He didn't get a whole lot of playing time, but he did get in there. He didn't do a half bad. He did all right. So that's very promising. I think. Paul says Cowboys Brock Hoffman is a perfect fit for you guys. He's a starter at center and guard, and uh, he will be cheap. So yeah, I, again, not really worried about the cheap part of it, but that could be something. I feel like they need an experienced center to come in. To be honest with you, I feel like if they go out there and they get a rookie, I don't think it's gonna benefit the Raiders. I feel like they should go out there. They should definitely look at an experienced center. I hear a lot of uh, fans talk about a center from Baltimore. I'm not sure what his name is, but I hear his name coming up a lot. So there's that guy as well. So. Hey, what's up, Joe? Joe Sullivan from the Sully Squad. That was on last night at 6 p.m. here on Out of the Box Sports. Go back and check that show out there on YouTube at OOT Box Sport, or look up OOT Box Sports, or look up Sully Squad and check out his show. He talks Philadelphia sports. and all the wide variety of sports and sports teams and stuff like that. Not just Philadelphia, but those guys will go off onto a tangent once in a while and talk about different teams and whatnot. Uh, but yeah, they'll talk four for four. All the sports there. I can't wait to see the Raiders finally get a quarterback. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, Joe. Like I said earlier in the show, it makes me nervous because it's not a guarantee. You want that guarantee. If anybody ever seen Tommy Boy, I've seen Tommy Boy a million times. We all know what the guarantees are. So if you know, you know. You know, I'd rather stick my head up the butcher's ass and take his word for it. You know what I'm talking about. You get it. If you ever seen Tommy Boy, you get the joke. But anyway, like I mentioned earlier in the show, like when Peyton Manning came out, you knew it was a guarantee. Like there was nobody. I didn't hear anybody talking about bust or whatever for Peyton Manning, bust potential, or why the Colts shouldn't take Peyton Manning and whatnot. But nobody's really since then come out that it's like, oh, it's a can't miss. Even like the guys like Lamar Jackson. There's a lot of questions about his accuracy and stuff like that. So there wasn't, Lamar Jackson wasn't a can't miss, and stuff. So it's scary, hoping that they finally get that franchise quarterback to get them on the right track. But then, realizing that, if it's not the franchise quarterback, it could set you back even further. It could be another 25 years. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know if I'll see the next franchise quarterback after that. So here's the hoping. Uh, MC says, I would say sign two starting offensive linemen, get wide receiver Alec Pierce. Yeah, that's another name that's been popping up a lot. Alec Pierce, his name's been popping up a lot. There's also, I'll talk more free agency next week if I get a chance to pop on. But also there's this one lad from Seattle. I can't think of his name right now. I should have wrote it down. But with ties to Kubiak, that's kind of thing you have to look at uh, when the Raiders are going to be building their roster. Is who already has ties, who's Kubiak comfortable with that knows his offense, and you kind of go from there. But there's going to have to be some splash guys, and the Raiders don't really have a true number one wide receiver. I know Brock Bowers is the number one receiver, but he's a tight end, so he's not really your true number one receiver. Trey Tucker, I don't think he'll ever be a number one. So Jack Besh, a number two at best. So the Raiders don't have a true blue number one, and I feel like it's going to come through free agency, and Alec Pierce, could really be that guy. So that's something that I'm excited for. I know he had a great season with the Colts, uh, but we'll wait and see. And like I said, I'll go over free agency next week, uh, and then talk about who I think the Raiders should target, and I'll also break down each position, top targets. Paul says, I feel Mendoza is a new culture mojo for the Raiders. He has that IQ and built the right way on and off the field. When he won the Rose Bowl MVP, he gave it to his offensive lineman. Who does that? That's Fernando. Yeah, he does seem like he has his head on straight. He does seem like he has the potential to be a very, very good leader. And he's that kind of guy that gets out there and says the right things as well. You're not going to have Ryan Leaf, type type guy flipping out on reporters in the locker room and whatnot. So it feels right. It really does. It feels right. Mendoza feels right. Feels like the right pick. Looks like the right pick. Just can the Raiders surround him with the right players? Can Kubiak bring him along the right way? Whether that means sitting him for the first half of the season or for a full season, or maybe he's ready right off the bat. Who knows? But like I mentioned earlier in the show, it's Tom Brady's been on record in the past saying that he's not a big fan of rookie quarterbacks starting right away. So does that play a factor in it? Or does you know Brady help build a team and just step back and that's it? I don't I get it. The owners should have a say in who plays and who doesn't play, but I don't feel like the owners should have a say who should play and who doesn't play. I mean, they're not the GMs, they're not the coaches, they're the owners. So I mean, it's you kind of looking back on Al, kind of where the Cowboys are. with Jerry and stuff like that, with being the owner and the GM. I think that's too much say for the owner. I really do. And Al made it work for many years. The Raiders didn't have a GM until Al passed away. So, uh, but yeah, so I don't envision Tom Brady having a say as to who starts, when they start, or whatnot. But it is Tom Brady and all that other stuff. I don't know. It's a tight line to walk. It really is. So there's that. Uh, so yeah, so that those are my thoughts on the Raiders bringing Kubiak on. And again, I don't like the K and Clint. I think it's nonsense. I feel like he should change it. I feel like there should be verbiage in the contract with the Raiders where he has to change his name from Clint with a K to Clint with a C because that's how you spell it. Uh, I don't know what the Kubiaks were thinking when they named Clint. Uh, why they chose the K over the C, but uh, yeah, I don't like it at all. But I do like the hire of Clint Kubiak. I do like the hire. Hopefully he signs the contract. Hopefully they work it out. They get it signed, next week after the Super Bowl. Get it over with. I don't want to drag it on. For the love of God, I don't need that. And start getting that staff built up. Defensively, uh, a couple DCs. I didn't get a chance to talk about this. I'll do it right now. But what I was seeing online, of course, there's the Jim Schwartz saga going on there in Cleveland. But again, it's a lateral move, and I don't think uh, coordinators can freely move laterally. It has to be a promotion, and so the Browns could block that, and or they could ask for compensation, and I wouldn't want to do that. Same thing with the Jairo Avero, who was the Raiders' second potential second choice if Kubiak passed on the Raiders' head coaching job. He's the DC in Carolina. Uh, Carolina's defense kind of mid, but they dealt with a lot of injuries, so it's kind of. But again, it's a lateral move. I'm not a fan of it. You have to compensate. But the one I like is Rob Leonard, the Raiders' defensive line coach. He's been with the Raiders for a couple seasons now. I feel like the defensive line uh, has been one of the better points of the Raiders' defense over the last couple seasons. Not great, besides Max, not great, but good, but decent. And there's a lot of hype behind Rob Leonard over the last couple of years. So if the Raiders wanted to hire from within, and Spy Tech and Kubiak agreed on it, I would like to see Rob Leonard get that DC job. So that's what I would look at there. But again, now you're looking at an inexperienced DC with an inexperienced offensive coordinator with an inexperienced head coach. That could be a little bit too much. I don't know. So those are my thoughts. Those are the defensive coordinator potentials that I seen online. Not crazy about it, but we'll see what happens. We'll play the waiting game. All right. So before I get out of here, uh, just want to throw my thoughts out there with the Super Bowl coming up. My pick, I like the Sea Chickens. I feel like the Sea Chickens are going to blow them out, blow the Patriots out. I don't think it's going to be close. I feel like they're going to come out hot, um, and that'll be it. I feel like it. Score wise, I I'm thinking 34-3, 34-10 maybe. I really do. I think it's going to be a blowout. I'm hoping for a blowout. I did not take off of work. So hopefully that game is over and done with before I have to go to work. And that could be part of my reasoning. I don't know. I do have a hatred for the Patriots. I will never let Tuck Rule go. So there's that. Paul says Super Bowl. Paul has the Patriots 29-24. 34 to yes, Paul 34-10. Like I said, I did not take off work this year for the Super Bowl, so I'm hoping it's over, at least on the scoreboard, before I have to go to work. If it's going to be a tight game like that 29-24 you're predicting, I'm going to be pissed off. There's a couple. I usually take off the Super Bowl. There was a couple I didn't, and as I'm leaving the house, I'm kind of like watching it as I walk out the door, and then I'm trying to listen to it on the radio on the way in. It's like, God, it just took off the goddamn night. So I'm hoping it's a blowout. I really need a blowout here. I don't want to be rubbernecking it here. But I don't have any sticks in the fire with this. I could care less who wins it. Historically, it'd be neat for the Patriots to get another Super Bowl, but Sea Chickens, I feel like they're the better team overall. I feel like the Patriots are just kind of riding a wave of uh, momentum, and sometimes that momentum just stops. So, and the Raiders beat the Patriots. You can't have your Super Bowl winning team, one of their losses on the season, be against the worst team in the league. You can't have that. It's impossible. Like, the NFL won't allow it. Everybody talks about the NFL being rigged. My cat's taking a crap in the litter box right now and staring at me. It's freaking me out. It's weird. But anyway, back to it here. Yeah, the NFL won't. Yeah, people talk about the NFL being rigged. They won't allow a team that lost to the Raiders, the worst team in the league, to win the Super Bowl. That would just look, I guess they do want parity, so they go, oh, look at the parity. Anybody can win it next year. So maybe they will allow it. I don't know. Paul, final comment here. Says, great show, buddy. Glad to see some silver and black to start my day in the morning. Yeah, Paul, again, I'm going to try to get on as much as possible. I can't guarantee anything. Like I said, I was all gun ho last night. I'm like, I'm going to go on live tomorrow morning. I'm excited. And then I'm, like a half hour from being live. I'm like, I'm so tired right now. I'm dead. I'm going to suck ass. I'm going to forget everything. And I did forget some things, but a little bit of help from my friends here, Raider Nation, got me through it, and I appreciate it very much. And Paul says, your cat said you're talking Raiders time to crap. Yeah, basically, you're taking a shit on my Raiders here. All right, so that's all I have for today. I don't think. Oh, one more thing, the Bill Belichick stuff. Bill Belichick not getting in to the Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame. I know my good friend at work, my coworker Guy. He's a Bronco fan. God bless his heart. He asked me about it, and I said, "Yeah." He said he shouldn't get it. He's a goddamn cheater. Spygate and all this other cheating crap. From Tuck Rule stuff and whatnot. But I do believe all joking set aside, Belichick should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, 100%. Spygate aside and whatnot, whatever. He should have been in. I mean, you look at past coaches and there's indiscretions, that they've had that they got in first ballot or whatever. Bill Belichick, it's moronic that he didn't get in first ballot. It is really, really stupid. And I feel like they pointed to Spygate saying as to the reason why. I could be wrong, but it's he did a lot of winning after that, and I think the one thing that might have hurt him a little bit was the fact that Brady moved on and Brady won a Super Bowl, and here's Bill Belichick not coaching in the NFL anymore. So that could be it, but I don't think so. I just feel like they felt like they got to nail his pecker to the wood for past indiscretions, and so they did it, and he'll be in next year. So. Paul says, this is the final comment. I'm telling you right now, I swear to God, but Paul says, you're the man, the right hand of the network. I am the right hand of something. I don't know what it is, but be sure to check out the network, Out of the Box Sports, on Facebook, Out of the Box Sports Entertainment, and on YouTube, OOT Box Sports. Like, follow, and please subscribe. Hit that notification bell, that thumbs up, and all that good stuff. Like all the videos. And if you're interested in becoming a podcaster, you want to do your own little sports podcast or anything, anything. You want to talk about movies, music, life, love, anything, let us know. Reach out to Paul and get down to business. You guys can talk. He'll hook you up. All right. Thank you very much. And until next time, I got a couple of those sweet words to say, and hopefully they ring true next season. But it's just win, baby. See you later.
stories yet untold. Passion ignites like a blazing fire. Knowledge takes us higher, higher. Out of the box where the wild ones play, we see the game in a whole new way. Living loud, hearts in motion. Sports with soul, pure devotion. The field's alive with endless dreams. We're more than stats, we're the in-between. A slam dunk.